Coach Jennie, obviously. How are you today? Where did that go? There we go. Boom. This is Coach Jennie Live, and I have no idea exactly what it's going to morph into, but what I do know is I have missed this. So for those of you who have no idea who I am or are watching this on replay, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Jennie Mustafa Julak. I know, it's a name. It's a big, big name. But everybody just calls me Coach Jennie, and I am the coach to call when you feel like you have what I call impatient ambition. That feeling of I want to do some really great things. I've already done some pretty cool things. I want to do even more great things. I would like to do them yesterday, if not sooner. Thank you very much. I help people who are in that situation figure out how to make that happen so that they can get faster and further, so they can make those things happen. It's very exciting. And if you don't know, I also live in an Airstream with my beautiful and amazing wife / CEO, Meredith. Meredith, say hi. Hello. She's off camera, but she says hi. The two of us are traveling North America in our shiny new Airstream, and we're really, really excited to be here. So let's see here. We got people coming in and saying hello. Hey, Jenna, good to see you. Welcome to the first ever episode of Coach Jennie Live. So let me tell you about my vision for this shindig. Actually, let me give you a little background so you know. I once upon a time loved live streaming, and I was really good at it, like wicked good at it. There was this period of time, it was like 2015-ish, where Blab was a big thing. Anybody who's met me since 2015 has heard me wax poetic about Blab.im. It is no longer a tool. It's very sad, but I met some of the most amazing humans there. And it was this live streaming platform where you could just start a show anytime that you wanted to. And Blab lasted, year and a half and change maybe. And I just took over. I loved that space so much. I loved having constant conversations with people that were unedited, unscripted, and kind of all over the place in a good way, in a very good way. And when Blab went away, and it went away with a big honk, it was really upsetting. We all kind of scattered and we're like, what are we going to do? We don't have Blab. What are we going to do to stay connected and all these things? And I looked and looked and looked and looked for a replacement for it and eventually just kind of gave up. I did a lot of Facebook Live. I am on Facebook right now, but this is primarily a YouTube live show. But I did a lot of Facebook Lives. I did all the different kind of live streams that you can do, trying to stay connected with people. Jenna says, I was not on the Jennie train in those years. That's okay. We just hadn't met yet. All good. And Meredith says, hello to everybody. If you have questions, holler at Meredith. She's over on YouTube. But it was just this most amazing time. And it was amazing because there was this instant gratification that came with people coming on and talking with me live in the moment. Anytime that I kind of opened up Blab, there were people there. It was really exciting. Kind of like what is going on with Clubhouse, except Clubhouse. I don't know. I made it about 9 months. Anyway, I have been wanting to have a live stream show for a very long time, and I keep going back and forth on whether or not I'm ready. And if you have impatient ambition and a self-sabotaging Hilda's the name I give to the voice in the back of your head called the inner critic. If you have a Hilda that says, well, you're not ready yet, then you're going to relate to this. I have felt like I'm not ready to have my own show because how on earth will I be consistent? How will I show up like I'm Marie Forleo with my Q&A Tuesdays for the rest of freaking time? My life doesn't really allow for that. My life is kind of in flux. There's a lot of things happening. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. And so it's really scary to say, I'm going to commit to going to this time every single time. And so this show is going to happen most Tuesdays at noon Eastern. Most Tuesdays. I'm giving myself permission. I'm baking in the fact that I have a life and that I travel full time. And sometimes the internet doesn't love me as much as I want it to. I'm baking that in to this promise. And so what this show morphs into, I'm not completely sure, but I'm excited about it. Another thing is, I was waiting until I had all of the technology perfect, until I had the fancy camera and all those kinds of things. Again, I don't know if I mentioned, I live in an Airstream, which is beautiful and lovely, and isn't it gorgeous? It's a little Pottery Barn Airstream. We're very in love with it. But it moves. We're coming at you live right now from, where are we? Cape Medic, Maine. And here in Cape Medic, Maine, it's pretty solid. Well, a couple weeks ago when we were in Montreal, not so much. So I can't promise that it's going to be perfect every single time. I can't even promise I'm going to be on my computer. I might be on my phone sometimes. But you know what? I'm tired of waiting until the Blab days return, until somebody comes out with some fancy new tool and makes it all nice and neat and easy for me to have this lesson. So I'm just doing it because I want to practice what I preach. One of the things that I preach and that I'm always pushing preach, I don't preach, but one of the things I'm always pushing the folks in the Make It Happen community to do is to just experiment, just get started. In fact, tomorrow I have a workshop called Just Start. I am going to be helping people get over that starting line, and that's exactly what we're here for. There's more happening in the chat. I just want to get to some of this. Jetta is saying, I love the old Periscope days, the same sort of live community. Yeah, I didn't Periscope. I was much more of a blabber. And it makes it, she agrees, it takes a lot to commit to a live show. It's so hard when you run a business primarily by yourself. And here's the thing, I am tired of making that hard. What if it's not hard? I was thinking about this. The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, now The Daily Show with Trevor Noah, is called The Daily Show, and it's not daily. It's on usually, at least in the Jon Stewart days, Monday through Thursday. Sometimes there's a repeat on Friday. Some weeks they just took off. In fact, a chunk of weeks of the year they just took off. They were never on Saturdays and Sundays, and they called themselves The Daily Show. So we get it into our head that if I'm going to do this, my consistency has to be perfect, and I'm here to say. So welcome to Coach Jennie Live. Join me each week, most weeks, most Tuesdays, as I show up here and share kind of what's going on with me and what's happening. So with all that preamble done, let's go ahead and get going. Meredith is, thank you. I do not preach, I shove. I shove, that is correct. If you don't know what she means, I have been known to dole out what I call a cathartic shove. There's a whole lot of coaches out there that are gentle encouragers. And I love that about you. I think that's so lovely. But my clients don't come to me because they're looking for gentle encouragement. They are looking to get pushed a little faster than they're ready for. You see, this is the most meta conversation ever. They're getting pushed faster, maybe a little bit harder, metaphorically. I don't actually put my hands on people and shove them. But metaphorically, shoving them forward before they're ready. So it's a little bit of a jerk. It's a little bit scary. It's a little bit bold. So that on the other side of it, it feels cathartic. Like, I pushed past or through something that was really scary, that may still be really scary. I am terrified right now. And you have to shove anyway. So I love it. Let's see. She says, aha, not you, LOL. No, I would never. So yeah, that's what the shoving is all about. So let me tell you a few things that are going on in Coach Jennie land and what we've been up to. As I mentioned a little earlier, we live in this Airstream, but that is a relatively new experience. So I'd love to give you a quick little backstory into that in case you're curious. In 2020, when the pandemic hit, I was ramping up and planning for an event called No Matter What. So you know the next No Matter What is coming up. Let me give you those dates, September 29th and 30th. It's a 2-day live coaching experience that I offer virtually. It's really exciting. So I was getting ramped up for that. And Meredith was assisting me as we were doing these different events. And on the event that we had January 2021, Meredith came in again. We were practicing and getting ready for that event. She shared as an example of how I was explaining an exercise that she actually made the decision in that moment that she was ready to retire from education. She was really tired of being an assistant principal. After 20 years in special education, she was ready for a new challenge and try something different. And it was terrifying and exciting and exhilarating all at the same time, because my dream since I started this business in 2006 was that the business would be at a place where I could retire Meredith financially so that she could, if she wanted to, come and work with me and be my business partner in all of this. And lo and behold, she wanted to, which is so wonderful. So we decided we're going to do this, but we were not financially ready. It was a freaking pandemic. Who on earth was ready to make big, bold moves at that time? Not us. But in order to do it, we thought, let's get creative. Let's make it happen in a creative way. So we moved into a tiny little 16-foot trailer. Neither of us having any RV experience and barely any camping experience, if you don't include a couple Girl Scout camping trips We moved into that 16-foot RV and decided to leave Los Angeles and our fancy pants apartment there, move to Birmingham. And when we got to Birmingham, which is where Meredith's parents are, we would make the decision whether or not we liked this lifestyle. And we promised ourselves we wouldn't decide we, because it was going to be the hard part. Like, we're going to be in the parts where we're making all the mistakes and complaining and whatever. So no decisions until Birmingham. But we didn't even get to Flagstaff, Arizona before we were in love with this lifestyle and quickly realizing that if we're going to do this, we're going to do it indefinitely. So it's not fun anymore. It's not great anymore. We're going to need a bigger boat. So when we got to Alabama, we basically ordered this one. She took a long time to get together. We picked her up this July. Is that right, Meredith? Yep, July. We picked her up in July in Texas, brought her back to Alabama to get her packed up, and then went on tour. So we are currently on tour. Let me show you. Look at that. We are currently on the first ever Make It Happen tour. That's the t-shirt. Thank you, Chris Lively, for the t-shirt. This is our tour map, and we started down here in Birmingham, worked our way up until we got to Chicago and Michigan, then had a little vacation-y time, just me and Meredith up in Canada. Our first time ever busting out passports and living and being in Canada. That was amazing. And then last week we hung out in the fabulous area down here in Vermont. Oh my gosh. I I think that we're going to start living in Vermont half the year. It's just stunning. And right now we are over here in Maine. Yeah, we're over here in Maine. And in case you're wondering where we're heading to next on the tour, we're here in Maine. We're having a meetup for the Make It Happen tour. Make It Happen is also the name of my community. So Make It Happen is meeting up tomorrow, Wednesday, the September 14th. We're meeting up. If you want to know about that, feel free to let me know. Leave a comment there to put you up. And then we're going on to Massachusetts, through Connecticut, and hanging out for a couple of weeks down here in New York before continuing on. All of these specific little dots, don't get too excited if you live by that dot. We don't know that we're staying there. They're just kind of ideas of where we're going before getting back to Birmingham by Thanksgiving. Because if we don't do that, my mother so we have to do that. So yes, the Make It Happen tour is amazing so far. Mary says she is loving it. It so is. One of the things that I'm getting a little clamped, as they say. This has been a dream of mine for a very long time. When I was a little girl, I thought I I love the idea of going on tour. I did not know that most people who do that have musical talent. And my little bit of high school piano was not going to send me on a musical tour. I didn't have it. But I did dream of having a tour. And here's another great example of not waiting until you're ready. I can't wait until this tour is really big and exciting, and there's big events that you're coming to where you're buying a ticket to come to an event, and I'm speaking and signing books and all of that kind of stuff. I look forward to that. That really is part of the dream. But waiting until all of those things are ready to start living that dream is just unacceptable to me. In Make It Happen, we're always talking about how can we start making that happen with what we have now, with what we know now, without waiting in line or waiting for somebody to tell us we now have permission. We are now welcome to get started. And also without having a perfect strategy of what that's going to look like. We just decided, screw that. We are going to go on tour, even if the first inaugural tour, which in some places it has been, is me, Meredith, and one other person meeting for brunch or having a cup of coffee, so that we can just get out there and get started. Here's what I'm learning, and I've been learning and sharing for 16 years in business, is that the people who just approach everything as an experiment, instead of waiting until they have this perfect strategy that like nailed down, are the people that really do things that matter. These are the people that are breaking the rules and trying new things and pushing past their fears. And what's really cool about that is that it is really scary to rely on somebody else's strategy. I think that's why we shop for so many strategies. But by definition, a strategy is going to give us this guaranteed result. So if I just follow this strategy, I too will get that guaranteed result. Who here has bought a strategy and not gotten that guaranteed result? I know I have. But by experimenting, we're saying it doesn't have any guarantees. I literally don't know what's going to happen, but I have a guess. In fourth grade science class, we called it a hypothesis. Right? I have a hypothesis of what might happen. So let's try that, shall we? Let's experiment with that. Let's test the collect data, make some observations. Again, fourth grade science is all. That's what we're doing. That's what we're going for, so that we can experiment and figure it out. So the Make It Happen tour is absolutely that experiment. And this is just the first little loop. I know I pissed off a lot of people when they saw the geography. They're like, why aren't you coming here? We are eventually. We just can't come to, well, everywhere. And we can't do it all like that. So in these 16 weeks, we are touring and making this big East Coast loop. And it is so exciting. So if you're on this loop, here we go. What do I do? We'll work on this. I got to work on my graphics here. If you're on this loop somewhere, I would love, love, love to see you. Make sure that you are following us at the tour. We have a link for that, right? Just go to coachjennie.com. So that's always good. There we go. Let's see. Buttons. And Jen says, I need a t-shirt. Okay, we're working on that. We are absolutely working on that. Mary says, gotta start before we are ready, to quote Coach Jennie. There is no such thing as ready. Thank you so much for that, Meredith. And yep, here's the link to the tour. Tour number 2 and tour number 3, we are headed to new parts of the country. Thank you for that. Tour number 2 will probably be early next spring. And I don't know exactly where we're going to go, but we are basically going to chase the pretty weather. Right now, we're chasing the 75-degree weather wherever we can. A little rainy today, but ultimately kind of beautiful in Maine right now. And so next year, what I do know is in August, we want to be over to Seattle by the end of August, so that we can go on an Alaskan cruise with Meredith's folks. So we have a lot of places to get. Have a just quick sip of water. One moment, please. Okay, so we talked about perfectionism. We talked about the tour. I mentioned no matter what. If you're not familiar with no matter what, do check that out. I would love for you to be at that 2-day event. But the last thing I want to make sure that you know about is, why are we on a Make It Happen tour? Well, because of the community Make It Happen. I want to get more eyeballs and more people to know what the heck that is. So pardon me on my own show if I do a plug of my own stuff. So Make It Happen is a community and membership of people who have that impatient ambition and want to get further faster and don't want to go it alone. I have been a coach for 16 years, and there's a lot of different ways that you could work with me, but one-on-one coaching, I can only help so many humans. In fact, I have a very small number of humans that I can truly support one-on-one. So I built Make It Happen to figure out, how can I support as many humans as possible in making happen what they're trying to do. And it's become this really fascinating thing. Meredith supports me in building out and managing the day-to-day of Make It Happen. And I've never been prouder of it. Plus, when I started figuring out what I wanted to be when I grew up, haven't we all been there? And I was trying to figure out, like, what is it that I really want to make happen? Hiring a coach was one of the first things I wanted to do, but affording that was difficult. Right? And so figuring that out too. So I also wanted to have a very affordable way to get some coaching support, to be surrounded by other impatiently ambitious people who get it, who get what it's like to have all these things you want to do and feel like the most ambitious person you know in your personal life, and nobody quite understands why you can't just settle down and be happy. Yeah. I wanted to be surrounded by those people because that's who I am. That's who my wife is. That's who some of my favorite people on earth are. And I also wanted people to have a way to do that. So Make It Happen is $49 a month or $490 a year if you want to save a couple things. A couple bucks, you get 2 months free. And it's $1. It's $1 to join for 2 weeks, so they can come and kick the tires. Meredith says, our Make It Happen peeps are the best. Just saying. I totally agree. They are absolutely the best. And it's really exciting to be part of that community. So if you want to join Make It Happen, it is $1 right now. You can join for $1, spend 2 weeks, get a sense of whether or not this is the space for you. I hold nothing back. You get invited to all of the live events. You get to look at all the replays. You get to get a good sense of what's going on and decide whether or not you belong to Make It Happen. And again, if there's something that you're not doing as fast as you want to figure out how to do that without watching a whole lot of Gary Vee videos and going all crazy with the hustle nonsense. You still want to make cool things happen and have a life and figure out how to do that without all this perfectionism and second guessing and without putting it off another minute. I'm your girl. That's what we're here for. Okay, plug over. Thank you for listening to all of that. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, there's more happening here. Jenna says I'll be coming down in the tour to see us in the Harrisburg area. Can't wait to see you both. Can't wait to see you, Jenna. Um, I don't know exactly the details of where we're going to be in Pennsylvania, but we are coming down to Pennsylvania. Yeah, let's see. Did I cover everything? I got it. Okay. Very funny. She's like off the voice off camera, like it makes me think of those old game shows where you're like, tell them we'll take it, Mom, like that's Meredith right now. The voice behind the curtain, that's right. In tiny spaces, that's what happens. So again, I don't have a complete vision for this show. What I do know is I want to have a place where you can rely that I will be here most Tuesdays and you can ask your questions. I can give you shots, I can share some of the stuff that we've got going on and we've got coming up. We're going to be talking this week all over social media and on my YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe to that. We're talking about FOBO, which is the new FOMO. FOMO, the fear of missing out. FOBO is something that I think is a bigger topic for most of the impatient ambitious people I know. It is the fear of better options, which as soon as you hear that, you know whether or not you struggle with FOBO. I'm also going to be talking about how to make some faster decisions instead of not making any decisions. It's just really important. Thank you, Jenna. Jenna says I couldn't keep going with my business without making it happen. Thank you for that. I appreciate that feedback. I disagree. I think you should absolutely do it, but I'm glad that it's focused and reminded of the things that keep you stuck, so you don't get stuck. Thank you for leaving all these comments too. It's really important to have that first follower. There's a fabulous, this is worth Google. There's a fabulous video, a TED Talk, one of those like 5 minute TED Talks about the first follower. I highly recommend it because you need that first person to kind of I'll leave comments so that other people feel comfortable also joining in. So I appreciate you doing that today. What else do I want to say? So we have that coming up. We have a couple of new videos coming up. Next, we're going to be sharing more. Ooh, look at that big trailer behind me coming in. Hello. There's a lot of cool things happening, but if nothing else, if you feel like, you know what, I have been sitting on this great idea or poking at this book that I want to write or flirting with this business I want to start or thinking about, or if you're southern fixing to do something and I just cannot get out of my own way to get it started, I would like to help you. So reach out to me and let me know how I can help. Go to coachjennie.com and come to my free workshops, come to join Make It Happen for $1. There's a lot of different ways that I can give you. So that's what I got for you today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you for tuning in to my very first imperfect Coach Jennie live show. And I will see you this time next week. Bye, guys.